Hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you about a 10-day silent retreat that I've done a few times. It's called VIPASSANA. I've done it once for real at the location at an actual VIPASSANA meditation center, and then I've done it twice since just in my own home because it was during the lockdown period, so I couldn't go anywhere to do it. So I just did basically the principles that I could apply in my own life. And I'm going to tell you what it's like and what it's about, because every time I mention this to my friends, they kind of want to know more, and it's not the most common thing that people do with their time, to spend 10 days in silence. But I think it's really beneficial and amazing, so I'm going to tell you about it. So first of all, how did I find out about Vipassana? Well, I had never heard of it before, and I was living in Melbourne at the time, and I had a friend who mentioned the word Vipassana for the first time ever, and in the same week a different friend, out of context, they didn't know each other, also mentioned it. So I heard that word for the first time in my life twice in 1 week, and I was like, okay, I need to look this up. What is going on here? So I looked it up. I was a teacher at the time doing supply teaching, so I had a lot of holidays, I had time, so I was just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go. I had really no idea what I was getting into. I just did what anyone can do, which is you go on the website, you book it, and you read the rules and what the expectations are of the retreat. So I'll tell you about them now. So if you want to go to a retreat, there's rules that you have to follow, and you find them on the website. So if you're thinking, yeah, cool, I want to go on a retreat, you need to log in and look at what they call the code of discipline. That's the first thing. So that is what the rules are if you want to go to it. And the rules are things like you cannot speak at all. There's noble silence. It means also no eye contact, no signaling, no smiling. So for 10 days, you're not talking to anyone. There's no electronics. You're not taking your phone. You're not connecting with anyone outside. You're not listening to music. You're not reading. You're not writing. You're wearing clothes that don't show off your body. There's no exercise. There's no other religious things. So you're not doing your own mantras or your own yoga or anything like that. You leave all of that behind. And also it's very simple living. So you're in a room with some people who you can't talk to, and you don't wash that often. It's just very basic kind of school camp facilities. And you just go in accepting that you're not going to be doing any of that stuff. They do feed you and they teach you this way of meditating, but that's really all you do. So you have to read the code of discipline, and you have to think in your head, can I do this? Yes, I can do it. Cool, let's pursue it. There's also an art of living, which is kind of guidance as to what they're going to teach you about and how they live and why they only give you vegetarian food and what the basis that they're going to teach you is, although it's very vague, and what you actually learn is very different to what you can read. It's an experience, so that's why you go. Once you've read all that and you agree to it, and then you actually go there. I remember when I was driving there, I was really, really scared. I had not met anyone, except for my friends who mentioned it. I wasn't really that close to them. They were kind of new friends. I had never met anyone my age who'd ever done it. I was like, I am really terrified. What if this is a cult? What if I can't leave? They do say on the website you need to commit to 10 days. No matter how hard it is, you need to commit. And I'm I'm really scared they're gonna do stuff I don't want to do. I'll be trapped there. They lock away your valuables in a safe if you want to lock it away, so it's you can't leave. None of that is true. If you want to leave, you can leave. They don't hold you there against your will, and if you want to get your stuff out of the locked up place, they will get it out for you if you really want to go. So it's not the end of the world. It's not a cult. If you're not interested and you don't like it, you can leave halfway through. But I highly recommend you stay. So my experience of it, it's a really weird. I mean, the first day I was so nervous because you think you're not allowed to talk the whole time. So I was just not talking to anyone, and I was signing in and registering it and stuff. And then I realized after a few hours when they actually said, okay, silence now starts now, that I could have been talking that whole time, but everyone was nervous and didn't know what they were doing. So no one really spoke. So I could have made a few friends in that first few hours because there's really cool people there who are interested in similar stuff, but I didn't. So you're just oh man, I just wasted my last 3 hours where I could have talked. So that's cool. That's a rookie error. It's fun though. It's fine. The whole point is to start slowing down anyway. So, but yeah, I missed that opportunity. And then when they give you your room, I was in this room with these really cool looking girls, all young and fun, and they just looked so interesting. But you're in this room for 10 days with them and you're not allowed to talk to them, so you're just I'm definitely in the cool room. These girls are definitely awesome, but who really knows, because you're not allowed to talk. So there's some really odd moments like that, which I kind of liked. I enjoyed it. It was so strange, and yeah, it was fun. Also, another separation is that the men and the women go to different parts. So there's different rooms for men on one side of the meditation center, and there's rooms for women. And even in the hall where you all go to meditate, the men are on one side and the women are on one side, so it's completely separate. I didn't mind that either. That was just interesting and fair enough. When it comes to not talking, I kind of liked having a break of not talking, and it was really relaxing. I found, like, not having to be polite. Like, you weren't allowed to be polite. So you weren't allowed to say thank you when these people made you food. There's like volunteers there who make you lunch and breakfast, and if you're new, you get to have some dinner, and if you're an old student, you're supposed to not have dinner. You're supposed to fast, but because I was new, I could have dinner. So you're not allowed to look at people, say thank you, be polite. You don't have to make small conversation. Like, you get to escape from that completely for 10 whole days. So I found it like very relaxing to just get away from social norms. And there were like people around you, so it felt kind of comforting to be in a room, like a little dining hall with other people, but to just have their presence, but to not have to talk to them. It was really calming. I found it like strangely soothing. I thought when I went there, it was going to be like this really relaxing and like calming, like kind of like holiday retreat, like Bali or something, like very eat, pray, love. That is not at all what it was for me, at all. It's serious pain in my legs, like pins and needles for the first 3 days, solid pain because you have to sit in a position that I didn't really sit in, like sitting up. I tried to sit up straight, and also my legs did not like sitting for like 8 hours a day meditating. They just didn't like it. And you can go at lunchtime and ask like one question to the teacher who's there. So I went every day and I was like, oh, my legs really hurt. She's like, yep. And that was the end of my questions. I was like, okay, must be normal. And the next day I was like, no, it really hurts. I can't tell you how much my legs really hurt. And she was like, yes, everyone's legs hurt. So I just kept getting the same answer, which was like, just push through, girl. And then by like the 4th day, my legs actually stopped hurting so much, so I could kind of like get more into it. But that's all part of it as well. It's just like quieting your mind and getting in touch with what's going on in your body. I'm not really allowed to tell you what the technique is because they don't like people sharing it. They like people to experience it when they get there. So I'm just trying to tell you what's on the website and my own personal experience, but you have to learn the technique by going. That was a physical experience, so it was very painful for the first few days, and then it was more relaxing. Mental and emotional experience for me was, I did regret, because the rules are you're not allowed to read or write, I did regret not writing anything down because I had so much inspiration. I had so many amazing creative ideas, like so many. They were just like coming into my head. I had like all these visions, I had like all these pictures. And one time I told the teacher, I was like, I have like all these pictures, and she's like, that's not the technique. Move away from that. Just get into the technique. And I was like, oh, okay. So I tried really hard to not have them, but I feel like maybe I would next time write down some of the inspirations because they were like amazing. And then when I left over time, I kind of forgot what they were. So that would be like, if you're going to break the rules, maybe just write down a few things. If you've had some really cool inspirations, that might be my sneaky advice. I realized on that first retreat that when I was really lonely and when I was like, I've never been so alone. I was so desperate to talk to someone. Like, I realized who that person was that I normally go to when I really need to talk to someone. Like, you realize very clearly who that is because you really miss them and you can't talk to them, and you really, really need to talk to them because you can't talk to anyone. I was faced with this, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Normally I would just call them now and I'd feel better, but you can't. So what do? You're just faced with yourself. You can't go anywhere. You can't run. You can't get that support from anywhere. You have to stay with yourself. Can you support yourself? Can you, soothe yourself? Can you be okay with yourself? And I mean, I survived to tell the tale, so yeah, you can. It is lonely. Time is like completely warped. The only reason why I knew it was maybe coming to the 7th or 8th day was because I could hear in the distance that there wasn't traffic at this one time. So that traffic kind of stopped. So I was like, oh, maybe it's a weekend today because I can't hear that noise that I used to hear like this afternoon time. So that was like the only context to like the week or the weekend. So I felt like 10 days is very important because it took me about 3 or maybe even 4 days to just stop thinking about the day to day. Every time I sat down, I was like, this task, this normal thing, this person, this thing to do, this is my life, this is my job, these are the people in my life. Like, just like those normal day-to-day thoughts, they couldn't like die down. I was just living in that mode. And then after like some time with no one to talk to, nothing to say, nothing to listen to, no stimulation at all, it's like my thoughts settled to a point where I could meet myself underneath the day-to-day level. I could finally go somewhere and think about some things that I don't have time to think about in my life normally. So it was like I just got underneath the surface there by about the 4th day. So when people say they're doing meditation for like a weekend, a silent retreat, I think that could be nice, but if you want to get underneath the daily grind, I think it takes longer than a weekend. For me, it takes a minimum of 4 days to actually start just going somewhere deeper and thinking about like your true self, your deeper self, you're like getting some inspired ideas and things like that, like, you know, spending time with your own spirit, your own self, that like just that deeper understanding of who you are. So when I was down there in a nice quiet place, by the end of the 10 days, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to start talking again. I was just like, this is just so nice. It was like the first time in my life I understood when I was full, when I was eating, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be full. I know my limits. It's like I could finally like actually listen to myself and know. So on that physical level, I had like more understanding. I had like, great insights about my life and about how life is kind of fragile, and it's like, just things, it's like what you make it. It's also your mindset, but it's also like, just how we're all one, we're all part of something bigger. We're not that important, but also we're very important. So it's, you know, it's just this deep thinking that you don't have time for in your real life. And it's very cleansing, and I found it just a new experience to go to that slightly deeper level for a long time and have just time with yourself, really with yourself, your loveliest, truest self, like your most calm and your most open, like that deeper sense of who you really are when you're not in the stress of day-to-day life. I just love that part of it. It's very soothing to like, just spend that time with you. So I really like going there, and it does, like, I think about it and I'm like, that is so lovely to be there for a time. So even though it's hard, and I think people are scared to not talk and to be alone, being with yourself is actually very comforting and very soothing. It's like a really nice experience if you're brave enough to try it. So that will be my take home point. If you are brave enough, you can really find some things out about who you truly are that you can't find in the day-to-day grind, because you don't have time and you don't have the space to do it, to feel that, to go there, to get down to that level. So that's always my experience. It's really it's just still and relaxing and quiet by the end of the week. At the start it's hell, and on the way there it's scary, and I dread it the whole time until I get there. But then by the end of the week, it's like so worth it. So that's my experience. Since then, I did it 2 more times in my house. And the first time I did it, I just did like 3 hours of meditation a day. So just like, a very, not really the Vipassana version at all, but that still was very nice. I didn't speak for 10 days, but it didn't go so hardcore with the meditation. I just kind of took it easy. And I felt like I was trying to have a holiday even though we couldn't leave. And it was kind of like a holiday because I actually was at home on my own. So that was quite nice. And then the third time I did it, I was alone again, and I did it for real. I followed the schedule. I was on my own, but I cooked my food so I didn't have to cook. I had everything ready, vegetarian food, exactly the same as what they have there. And I did it the whole time, and that was like a very deep experience as well. Every time that I've done it, so I've done 3 times, hardcore, not so hardcore, and then like as hardcore as I could on my own. It's been a very, very different emotional experience. So it's been like, I learned some things on this first time, and also it's the first time you ever hear the information, so there's a lot to take in. And then I did it the second time and I learned different things, I got different answers. And the third time, again, I had such a different experience. Like, it's always really different. I went in all 3 times with questions that I wanted answered. I wanted like to be enlightened about certain things. I wanted like a clear path. I wanted answers. I never ever get those answers, not ever. I get like something that I actually need to hear in that moment, which is always very rich and very rewarding to find out. I never get what I go in for. I get something better every time, and something that I didn't even know I wanted to know. It's kind of like source knows what you really want to hear. So there you hear it, if you give yourself the time to hear it. Overall, they're my experiences of Vipassana. A lot of people really would never ever do this and they would never be interested, and that is completely fair enough. If you're working like a 9 to 5 and you only have 4 weeks of holidays a year, 10 days is a lot, especially if you have a partner, if you have kids, like 10 days is a lot of time if you have such precious time. Like I said, I had a lot of time. I was doing supply teaching, I had a lot of time off, so that didn't mean a lot to me at the time. So I understand if people don't want to commit that. But if you have a life or a schedule, or you have a time in your life, maybe you're taking a sabbatical or something, and you want to kind of investigate your inner world and just see a bit more of who you really are, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's just a real challenge and it's very rewarding. It's the most hardcore silent meditation retreat I've ever done. Because it is so hardcore, you get the best results. You get to really see who you are when you're not with anyone else. So yeah, it was awesome. Even though I do dread it, but while I'm going there, it's just so centering. I also recommend it for people who really want to learn how to meditate and they cannot. They're not getting it, they don't have discipline, they're not enjoying it, they have to listen to someone's voice in their ears. If they can't just meditate on their own with no help, and you really want to learn how to do that, this is how to do it. Get out of your life, get out of your real life, learn how to meditate with this technique, and then you can bring it back because you will have developed some discipline over those 10 days. I can always meditate for an hour a day or even 2 hours a day when I come back for at least a few months afterwards, and then sometimes it wanes away. But if you want to develop that discipline, this is the place to do it, because you really do develop discipline when it comes to meditation. So yeah, that's my experience. Highly recommend. That's Vipassana meditation. I'll put a link to Vipassana below, but it's all over the world. And yeah, try it out for yourself. And if you've done it for, let me know what you thought of it. And if you're going to try it, let me know, and good luck to you. And yeah, I hope you just enjoy your beautiful self and you meet more of who you are. Thanks. I'm the Healing Hunter. Thanks for watching.